Hello, listeners. It's been a hot minute. My name is Dinchika and I'm your host for today. And in today's episode, as is typical of us, we will be addressing something very prevalent in the African society and also to the global south. None other than digital inclusion. I hope you find this interesting. I hope you find this informative as well as entertaining. Once again, you're listening to the PIN podcast, and let's get right into it. What exactly is digital inclusion? Imagine going for even a day without internet connection, not being one search away from accessing information on anything. Imagine not being one text away from communicating with a loved one. Imagine needing to walk to the bank to complete any and every transaction. Waiting for the paper every morning to know what is happening around you. Sounds tough, right? It is 2024, and despite the rapid digitalization around us, this is the harsh reality of almost 50% of the African population. Digital inclusion refers to the ability of individuals and communities to not only access but effectively utilize digital technologies such as the internet, computers, and mobile devices to participate fully and squarely in the society and the economy. According to the International Telecommunications Union, 4.3 billion people worldwide lack internet access. In Africa, that number is staggering. Digital inclusion is not just a moral imperative, it is an economic one. As Africa's population grows, we must prioritize digital infrastructure and affordability. Here is an excerpt of the President of Kenya, President William Ruto, speaking on the importance of digital inclusion to a national economy.
Higher digital inclusion will intensify job creation and will help us deal with the challenge of poverty. Beyond infrastructure, a thriving digital economy requires the presence of a sizable and highly skilled digital workforce to build on advances in digital technology and to drive innovation and productivity, thereby creating a dynamic ecosystem which ushers enterprises into the digital economy and enables them to scale up successfully.
To summarize everything I have said up to this point, more internet access equals more economic growth. Now that we've identified just how essential digital inclusion is, I'm going to address what I am sure is the question on every listener's mind. If digital inclusion is so important, what is holding Africa back? Research done by Paradigm Initiative, as highlighted in the London report, alongside other reputable bodies, has identified certain problems and barriers to an inclusive society. The list of barriers holding Africa from equitable and inclusive digital access is quite extensive. Now, before I proceed, let us hear from Henry Nyakurundi. I sincerely apologize if I am slaughtering that name, but Henry is a tech entrepreneur who is also an expert passionate about inclusive education.
So since COVID, digitization has become the norm now. The whole continent is focusing on how to digitize their services. So pretty much the whole ecosystem from health, education, government, Rwanda has really taken the lead on that aspect. But what we've seen is digitization has been focused strictly on the internet. When you talk about storage, computing power, there's a huge gap on that aspect, number one. Number two, we tend to copy and paste solution from the West to the continent, which is a big, big issue. Because and that's why I'm very passionate about innovation. We need to look inward, basically.
In this discussion with the Atlantic Council, he speaks to why he thinks Africa isn't achieving the desired level of digitization. What are the factors and the challenges limiting digital inclusion? What are those things that are influencing the growth and rapid progression of digital inclusion on the continent? Now, I'm going to start off by saying that most of these challenges are interwoven. So it's kind of hard to pick them apart, but I'm going to try my best and I'm going to make this as relatable as possible. So right up on that extensive list is infrastructure barriers. Simply put, there is no way to sugarcoat this. There are non-existent or limited digital infrastructure in most African communities. And what do I mean by this? I mean there's limited electricity, there is poor fiber optic connectivity, there is insufficient cell tower coverage, there's bad road conditions, inadequate public transportation, and all of that, all of which result in slow or unreliable connections, making online activities unnecessarily challenging. For instance, in Nigeria, 40% of rural areas lack 3G or 4G coverage. We can all relate to that feeling of frustration when we visit some locations and there is absolutely no network. Everything is down. We are cut off. Now imagine for a moment that you are living in that place without reliable internet or phone signal. This is the reality of many rural areas in Africa. Infrastructural barriers inevitably leads to institutional barriers. Institutions like schools and hospitals lack the digital infrastructure to facilitate smooth day-to-day operations and optimize productivity. This also leads us to geographical barriers. Remote areas lack online access due to distance or terrain, and I've mentioned this before. This could be bad road conditions, bad weather conditions. For example, in Democratic Republic of Congo, rural areas are often rendered inaccessible, hindering online connectivity. And to be fair, this isn't just in Democratic Republic of Congo. Whichever African country you are listening from, I can bet that you are thinking of a community right now which is rendered inaccessible. Affordability. High data costs and expensive devices make digital access unaffordable for many Africans. For example, in Zimbabwe, 1 gigabyte of data costs around 15% of the average monthly income, limiting online usage. Additionally, device costs are out of reach for many, with smartphones averaging 3 to 6 months worth of income. Data costs are too high for many Africans, making online access a luxury. Now, this directly leads us to economic barriers. Despite the ever-rising cost of data as well as the general standard of living, the poverty in Africa is still very, very present. Poverty limits online access due to unaffordable devices or data. In Kenya, for example, 60% of households live below the poverty line, making smartphones unaffordable. Digital literacy is also a challenge. Limited digital skills and knowledge hinder effective online engagement. Digital literacy is another factor influencing digital inclusion on the continent. In South Africa, 40% of adults lack basic digital skills, restricting their online opportunities. This includes basic computer skills, online navigation, and digital safety awareness. Many Africans lack basic computer skills or online navigation knowledge. Policy and regulatory barriers. Restrictive laws, regulations, and censorship limit online freedom. Now, the good news is we have an entire episode on internet censorship and restriction, so I'm not going to overflog it. I'm just going to drop the link in the description box and you can go listen to that, and also you can read about it on the Paradigm HQ website. Restrictive laws and regulations can hinder online access. There's also the problem of social and cultural barriers. Language and cultural differences exclude marginalized groups from digital opportunities. And I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate what Henry said earlier about looking into customizing digital technologies for Africans by Africans so it can better cater to our needs as a people. Also, some cultural norms may also restrict women or minority groups from online participation. Language and cultural differences can create online barriers. Here are some statistics speaking to this.
According to GSMA data, gender gaps persist in access and use of digital technologies across low and middle income countries. Here are the facts. 1. 83% of women own a mobile phone, but women are 7% less likely to own a mobile than men are. 2. 58% of women use mobile internet, but women are 15% less likely to use mobile internet compared to men. 3. 933 million women are not using mobile internet. The largest gender gaps are in South Asia and the Africa region. There is both a coverage and a usage gap. The former refers to how many are in areas not covered by mobile networks, and the latter refers to those who do not use the internet. While the coverage gap is reducing, the usage gap remains wide. The major barriers that contribute to these statistics are the cost of digital access, the ability of women to use digital technology, cultural norms about what women can and can't do, and a lack of content that is relevant to them. This is the state of digital tech inclusion today.
Some effort has been made toward digital inclusion in Africa, as highlighted in the London report. We are making some progress. We see several governments have made strides in digital transformation, either initiating, collaborating, or funding several digital inclusion programs across Africa, and the policies are not left out. We see several countries like Tanzania, like Nigeria, drafting and passing policies that support the inclusion of the population digitally. We see the telecommunications sector also taking some strides. Industry giants such as MTN, Vodacom, and Safaricom are investing in infrastructure and affordable data plans. Innovative solutions such as mobile money and digital payment systems are also driving financial inclusion. We talk about the M-Pesa of Kenya. At the civil society level, a whole lot is being done. Trust me, we would need an entire episode dedicated to this. First, let us hear from Ikweze Nwobilo, a senior programs officer at Paradigm Initiative, on the work that is being done collaboratively with ONI to ensure that there is digital inclusivity and accessibility.
I'm Ikweze Nwobilo. I am from Nigeria. Currently, I am the lead on Paradigm Initiative digital inclusion programs. So what we do is connecting young people in underserved communities in Africa to digital opportunities while also protecting their rights online. So we found out that a lot of young people in most of these communities, there's this disparity, there's this gap between opportunities that are available to them and most of their contemporaries in urban communities. So we try to bridge this gap by solving access problem, by also making sure that they have meaningful connection to the internet. In 2021, we experienced censorship practically when the Nigerian government on the 5th of June 2021 banned the use of Twitter in Nigeria.
This is the part where I take a moment to speak about the Life Legacy Program, an initiative that trains underserved African youth between ages 18 to 25. And what I mean by underserved is people who wouldn't ordinarily be in a position to access or afford these skills. The initiative takes them under her wing, equipping them with digital skills, and not only that, but also providing guardians that guarantees them a better quality of life. LIFE is an acronym for Life Skills, ICTs, Financial Readiness, and Entrepreneurship. Let's go ahead and hear firsthand from some benefactors of this initiative on the impact it had in their lives.
coming here, I felt like I could build up, but I felt the knowledge I had wasn't stable. But this program enlightened me and brought me up from the former level I was to a greater height, which I will still be putting more pressure and improving.
Before I joined the Life Magnitude program, I was a novice. Like, I didn't know anything about computer. I was basically a computer illiterate. But starting the program, it has been mind-blowing, mind-shifting, thought-provoking, the entrepreneurship programs as well. It's already giving my business a different look already because I'm already applying it in the aspect of advertising. Really been helping to my business.
It has impacted me in the aspect of me not having an idea of handling my business, although I run a mini online store, but the entrepreneurship classes we have has boosted me, has activated, letting me know what does and don'ts, and applying it.
What is the way forward? Here are some digital actors and advocates, each sharing their idea of what the way forward is for Africa in regards to digital inclusion.
In Cape Town, South Africa. I'm here with Funke Opeke, who is the CEO and founder of Main One. Funke, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Delighted to be here.
Your company has been instrumental in helping to bridge the digital divide between West Africa and the rest of the world. The session you've just taken part in was quite reflective looking back. Let's look forward. What do you see the future of African tech being on the continent and also globally?
The future of African tech is bright. I think we need more enablement, and we talked about political will and the role of our regulators as enablers. However, it's only a question of velocity. The youth who are digital natives now will be in charge a few years from now. Already we're feeling their impact with homegrown apps and homegrown content, and we can only see more scale-ups and impact of Africa on a global scale, not just across the continent, but as the infrastructure improves, African creators, African content, African developers stand the opportunity to play a much bigger role on the global stage.
Okay, thank you.
Huge opportunity on the continent. So bridging this digital gap it's a great narrative, but we need to look inward. Like I said, we need to start looking inward for solutions to solve those gaps, right? We have to understand that ecosystem is not just about bringing internet, for example, right? The youth, you don't need to train the youth about the internet. They can pick up very quickly. But now you need to find out how can you lower the cost of infrastructure? How can you facilitate access to those devices to the people? How can you create a digital economy within those communities? That's another conversation that most people don't talk about. You know, mobile apps, application development, software. My background is computer science. So, and fundamentally, we have a mindset issue in Africa. That's our biggest issue. We look outside for solutions to solve our problems. We spend billions of dollars, whether it's AIDS and all those things, trying to solve this problem. And then after 10 years, that gap is still the same. We talk about 50% of people unable to connect for the last 10 years, at least the last 10 years I've been back. You know, same thing with energy, you know. So there is a problem that needs to be solved.
Okay, we've spent well over 10 minutes learning about digital inclusion and the African society, its challenges and efforts made towards the inclusion on a governmental and organizational level. Now, over to you. Yes, you. What can you do personally to help bridge the digital divide in your immediate society? First of all, you can teach, and this costs you nothing. You can share the knowledge that you have, your digital literacy, and I mean teaching basic computer skills like typing, email, and online safety. You can also volunteer to assist organizations offering digital literacy trainings. You can assist with teaching, administration, or technical support. Just find a way to participate in community projects and digital inclusion initiatives. And because it's a digital digital world. You can also create online tutorials or YouTube videos from the comfort of your home. Create educational content on digital skills and digital rights. Secondly, you can donate. Donate your used devices. Consider donating gently used smartphones, laptops, tablets, or desktops to individuals, to schools, or to organizations that you know are already working towards this. And situations where you don't have time on your hands to commit to training people, you can commit your funds. You can commit your funds to this cause by donating to organizations already working towards bridging the digital divide. And lastly, you can always advocate. Raise awareness on a personal level. Raise awareness by identifying with people who are also passionate about this social cause. Just like I am doing right now through this podcast, you can put up posts on social media, videos or personal stories highlighting digital divide issues. And again, because digital inclusion is much more than a personal cause, it's something that affects the general national economy. Stay informed on policies concerning digital transformation and rights. Participate in advocacy groups and always be vocal about your support for inclusive policies, while also raising concerns around the policies that have the potential of excluding people digitally. If you are interested in this social cause and would love to learn more, our website www.paradigmhq.org is a good place to start educating yourself and also to donate.
Thanks for joining us on today's PIN podcast. Be sure to join in for our next episode. You can follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram @ParadigmHQ.